Hello everybody and welcome to our Kids Table virtual cooking class today. My name is Anastasia and we are going to be making build your own cookies. So I've got lots of different things here. While everybody's gathering together, I'm just going to go over some of the things we have. The first thing we do want to do today is turn on our oven and start preheating that. So we're turning that to 350 degrees and we're going to let that warm up a little bit. And some of the tools we're going to need today. So I've got some measurements here. I've got a 1/4 teaspoon. I've got a 1/2 teaspoon. I also have a tablespoon over here, and then a couple 1/4 cups that we're going to use. So those are the tools we're going to need. For mixing, I've got 2 bowls, because today we're going to make 1 batch of cookies, but then we're going to divide that dough in half, and we're going to make them into 2 different flavors. We've got 2 of those. We've got a whisk, a spatula, and then I'm also going to do a little bit of chopping today, so I've got my chopper and cutting board. And then our final thing we're going to need is right over here. We've got a sheet pan with a little bit of parchment paper. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then let's go over some of our ingredients. So we've got multiple of each thing. So I've got 2 different kinds of fat here. I have butter, and then I've got some oil. We're using sunflower oil today. I also have an egg, which we'll do a little cracking. We're gonna use 2 different kinds of sugar. So I've got a regular white sugar here, and then I've got some molasses, which we're gonna add into some of it to make brown sugar. But definitely if you have brown sugar at home, you can just use that, or if you prefer, you can also just use all white sugar. The brown sugar is gonna give it a little bit more flavor, so I would definitely suggest using it, but you don't have to. We also have some vanilla. We've got our baking soda, salt, and then back to the double version, we've got 2 kinds of flour. We have all-purpose flour and whole wheat flour. Once again, you can use all of one or use both. And then we have all of our different mix-ins. So some of the ones we have today, we have coconut, oats. I've got 2 different kinds of dried fruit here. I've got golden raisins, which are my favorite kind of raisins, and cranberries. I've got some seeds. So I've got pepitas and sunflower seeds. And then, finally, the most exciting part is I've got 3 different kinds of chocolate. So I've got semi-sweet chocolate, white chocolate, and then we have a dark chocolate. So like I was saying, you can pretty much use whatever ingredients you want for your mix-ins. And if you want, you can do it just like I'm doing it, make all of our batter, and then separate it into 2 bowls. And then you can mix in and make different kinds of cookies. So before we get started, the most important thing is to stay very clean. So we're gonna go get our hands washed while everybody's checking in, and I will be right back. All right, so hopefully everybody's all clean, and hopefully people are settling in with all their ingredients. If you've joined us, please feel welcome to say hello so we can get to know everybody here. And then while we're waiting, I'm not sure if we're having a little technical difficulty here or not. No? Okay, but we're gonna get started. So the first thing we have that we're gonna start with is our egg. We've got a whole egg here. What we wanna do is we're gonna crack it right into our bowl. A lot of times you see people crack on the side of a bowl. What that's gonna do is gonna shove the eggshell into here, and then you're more likely to end up with some shell inside your bowl. So we don't wanna do that. We're gonna take it right next to our bowl, right on the table, and just start gently tapping. And then I want you guys to see if you can hear when the egg actually cracks. You guys hear that? So whoop, we got a little crack, it's starting to open up. And then all we need to do is stick our fingers right in and pull it apart, just like that. So if you end up getting any shell inside of your bowl, what you can do is you can use the shell as a little scoop, and you just go right in and scoop your shell out. Just like that. So I'm gonna go get rid of our egg, and now that we got a little bit messy, we're gonna go get our hands washed one more time. So I don't know if anybody saw that, but while I was cracking my egg, a little bit of egg came out. So I'm gonna take a towel, spray right to the side. You don't wanna ever get any chemicals inside your food. And then we're just gonna wipe it right up. Have a nice clean area. I'm gonna put that towel to the side. And the first tool we're gonna use is our whisk. What we wanna do is, you can see there's two parts of our eggs right here. So we've got our white and we've got our yolk. And what we wanna do is combine those right together. And what our whisk does is incorporates a little air into our egg. So we are just gonna whisk it up. And you can see when the air starts going into our egg, it's gonna become a lighter, paler yellow color. I can show you that in 1 minute. So we'll get that all mixed together. Tap, tap, tap. And set that right to the side. And you guys can see we've got a nice bright yellow color there. So I'm gonna use my big bowl to start making all of our cookie batter. I'm gonna take all of our egg and pour it right in. And then we can just set our dirty bowl right to the side. So the first thing we're gonna do is we are gonna cream our fats and our sugar together for our cookies. So we've got some more fat over here. I've got a half a stick of butter, which is gonna be 4 tablespoons of butter. And you don't wanna take this right out of the fridge and put it right into your cookies, because it'll be really hard to break up. You wanna soften your butter, so you can either take it out like an hour before and let it soften on the counter, or you can put it in the microwave and defrost a little bit. We don't want melted butter, we do want it to somewhat be a solid still, so we just want some soft butter where you can touch it and it'll smush down a little bit. So I'm gonna get all my butter in there. Just like that. Don't want to lose any of that butter. So this is our fat I was talking about. We're also going to be using oil, so we're not using quite as much butter, but you can do it either way. You can definitely use all butter instead, or you can use all oil. The butter really gives it a delicious flavor, so I would suggest using some butter, but you do not have to if you don't have that option. So I probably should have softened my butter just a little bit more. It's getting a little stuck in my whisk. But one of the things that's gonna help it is adding a little bit of sugar to break it up. So the first scoop of sugar we need is for our white sugar. So I'm gonna take 1/4 of a cup, and we want it all the way over the top. When it's a giant scoop like this, I think it's a lot easier to use your whole hand. So I make it really straight and go right across the top, just like a little karate chop. So right over the top. Make sure not to dig into your cup. Sometimes when you're using just your finger, especially if we've got a little smaller finger, it's hard to get all the way across the big scoop. So the hand sometimes works a little better. Ooh, my butter definitely hardened up a little bit. Let's see if we can tap it out of there. Here it comes. When you're tapping, you want to make sure you're doing little taps. You don't want to tap like this because everything's going to fly everywhere. And now that we have that egg in our batter, we do not want to get egg all over us or try it at all, even though this is going to smell really delicious soon. So I'm going to start whipping. Really mixing it up. And as you can see, I was talking about how my butter is not quite that soft, so it's got some pretty big chunks in there. So I'm going to have to do a lot of whipping. This is where I get my muscles from. All right, we're going to start mixing that all up and breaking up that butter there. Whew. So super speed. If you've got a stand mixer, you can always use that as well, but I think it's fun to do it all by hand. And like I said, if your butter is a little softer like it's supposed to be, it won't be quite as challenging. So, when I whisk, I like to go kind of in a zigzag versus in a big circle, and that way you're getting every spot inside your bowl. Really, really mixing it up there. All right. So you guys can see it's starting to break up a little bit right in there. I'm gonna give it just a few more whisks. So why don't we do about 20 more whisks. You can count along with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whew, hold on. Break. I'm a little tired. I started with more whisking at the beginning. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Nope. Whew, another break. Hold, please. All right, shake it out. Got 5 more left. Here we go. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay. So that looks pretty good now.
Somebody said they were a little behind.
Oh, no worries.
It's just 1 egg, right?
Yep. We put 1 egg in there. You can just use a regular size egg. And you're putting the entire egg in there. A regular size egg is generally about 3 tablespoons. But if you have a little extra egg, it'll be okay.
Elvira said hi.
Hi, Elvira. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys now where we're at. So you can see that all of our butter is broken up there in the sugar. For anybody who's a little bit behind, what we've done so far is we cracked 1 egg in here. We've added in our 4 tablespoons of softened butter, and then we put 1/4 of a cup of sugar. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna set that aside for a moment, and we are gonna now work on our brown sugar. So if we have regular brown sugar, you can use light or dark brown sugar, or if you have a little molasses, you can make your own sugar. So we've got 1/2 cup we need. So I've got a 1/4 cup here. So we will need 2 of these to make 1/2 cup.
You added 1/2 cup of sugar to the butter, right?
I added a 1/4 cup sugar to the butter. Yes, 1/4 cup so far, and now we're gonna add 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I'm gonna make my karate chop again, go right over the top. And this is our 1/4 cup, so we got 1, and then 2. Oops, it's getting a little harder to fill. I'm gonna use my fingers to fill it to the top. And then we're gonna do 2. So we're adding in 1/2 cup of sugar right here. And then I have this magical ingredient right here. I don't know if anybody heard me earlier, but this is our molasses. So molasses is a syrup. It can be made from all different kinds of sugar, so it's actually just adding sugar to more sugar. This syrup is usually made from sugar cane, and it's cooked down into a syrup, but it can also be made from sugar beet juice. It can be made from dates. It can be made from all sorts of things with sugar. So you can see it's very, very sticky. And the amount of brown, or the amount of molasses we're adding in is how dark we're gonna make our brown sugar. So I'm gonna start with about 1 tablespoon into our 1/2 cup right here. And if you guys look, it's very, very sticky, just like honey. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a spoon to just kind of toss it around. But then, you'll see it kind of just breaks up into little tiny pieces in there. So we're gonna have to use our hands to incorporate it. I've also put it inside a Ziploc bag, and you can squeeze the Ziploc bag and kind of move it around like that if you don't want to get dirty. But I don't really mind getting dirty here, so I'm gonna get my fingers right in there. So I've got all of our little pieces of molasses covered in sugar there. Let me get all the molasses off the spoon by scooping it into the sugar and using the sugar to help scrape off all that molasses. Very, very sticky. All right, now we're gonna just kind of toss it together just like that. And you can use your fingers to just move it in between and spread that molasses all throughout our sugar. Okay. So I'll show you guys in a minute what it looks like, but it's gonna be very light, very airy, and it'll be a nice golden brown color. So it's a nice trick if you don't have brown sugar at home. And like I was saying earlier, if you do not have molasses or brown sugar, you could definitely always use just all white sugar instead. Or if you only have brown sugar and no white sugar, you can use all brown sugar for your cookies. It just depends on what you're looking for. The brown sugar is gonna give it a little bit more flavor, like I was talking about. So I would suggest using it, but sometimes you don't have everything. So, ooh, so sticky. I got brown sugar all over me. So you guys can see right there, it's all incorporated into our sugar, and it's got that nice golden color. So now that I'm very, very sticky, One more time washing your hands. You can't have clean enough hands. So you guys keep on going if you are working on making your own brown sugar, or if we're just still working on mixing up our sugar and fats. Okay, I'm all clean. How's everybody doing? Whoop, throwing things. Watch out. Okay, so back to this. So we have our butter in here, and we have our 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and we have 4 tablespoons of butter. So I'm gonna go back to our whisk, and now we need our 1/2 cup of brown sugar. So I have a 1/4 cup here, so we need 2 of these. And brown sugar, like I was saying, is very light and fluffy, so this is the only time that we usually tell you that you can pack down your brown sugar a little bit. So I'm gonna level it off and pack it nice right into that cup, just like that. Continuing with the sticky, this time I'm just gonna wipe my hands on my apron. So we've got a 1/4 cup there, and then we need a second one, because we want a 1/2 cup of our brown sugar. And I've got an exact amount of 1/2 cup here total, so we're just gonna push it all right in there. Okay. And we're gonna keep on creaming our sugar and butter together. Mix and mix and mix in. I'm gonna give it a super mix. Okay. So hopefully everybody's at this point. We've got all of our sugar and our butter in here. And now we're gonna go for our second fat. Does anybody remember what our second fat was gonna be? Our butter was our first fat. I'll give you a second while I whip it just a little bit more. Really get that air into our butter and sugar. All right. There we go. So our second fat is gonna be our oil. And we are gonna add, let's see, I've got my recipe right here, just in case. We are gonna add the same amount of oil that we did of our butter. So we added in 4 tablespoons of our butter. So I'm gonna do that with our oil now. You can either use a tablespoon, or you can use a 1/4 cup, whatever you prefer, because 1 tablespoon is gonna be a 1/4 cup, let's say that in reverse, a 1/4 cup is gonna be 4 tablespoons. So I'm gonna do 4 of those. What I like to do to really balance it out, to make sure I'm getting a nice full scoop, is to hold my tablespoon right on the side of my bowl. And that way I know it's really, really flat, and then we're gonna fill it all the way to the top. It's almost gonna look like a little bubble right when it gets to the top, and then we're gonna dump it in. So that's 1, and then we've got 2, 3. You can always have a helper help you pour while you hold the scoop, or if you're real confident, you can do it on your own, but I would definitely suggest balancing it against the side of your bowl. And 4. Okay, so we've got our second fat in there now. Got 2 sugars and 2 fats going on inside of our bowl. Put that to the side, and now let's whisk in that oil. These cookies are already looking delicious. How's everybody's cookies looking out there? Okay. So now you can see it's very liquidy. It should be able to go into your whisk and slip right out. And now we're gonna add another liquid and add a little bit of flavor. So we've got our vanilla. And our vanilla is gonna be a 1/2 teaspoon. So if you have a 1/4 teaspoon, you can always do 2 of those, or you can just use a 1/2 teaspoon. So same thing, I'm gonna hold my 1/2 teaspoon right on the side of my bowl, keep it nice and straight, and slowly fill it up to the top. And then dump it in. Now is definitely a good time to take a break and give a little smell to your batter. That vanilla smells pretty delicious. Okay. How's everybody doing out there? You smelling our batter? Is everybody excited to make cookies first thing in the morning?
It's almost noon.
It's almost noon, Elena says. It's pretty early still, guys. It's still early. All right, so I've tap that out. And now we've got our dry ingredients we're gonna add in. Okay, so this is when I'm gonna switch to my spatula right here, if I can talk. And we are gonna add in our first ingredient, which is gonna be our baking soda. Our baking soda is a leavener. Does anybody have any idea what a leavener could mean? I'm gonna go dry my half teaspoon. What do you guys think about that? All right, I am back. And my question was, does anybody know what baking soda does to our cookies? I mentioned it's a leavener. And a leavener is something that's gonna make our cookies rise. They're gonna make them puff up a little bit. So we need 1/2 teaspoon of our baking soda. So you wanna, if you have a little container like I do, you can push it all to one side, dig in there and get a nice heaping scoop just like that. And then this, since it's a pretty tiny scoop, we can just use our finger, make it super straight like a pencil, and go right over the top. Nice flat scoop. And this is very important because we would have some super duper flat cookies if we didn't put some baking soda in there. So I'm gonna use my spatula and make sure to get that all around our batter. Make sure you got it everywhere. All right. Perfect. So if you guys want to take a look, our batter should look just like this. We've got all of our butter mixed in. Does anybody remember any other ingredients we put in our bowl? Remember we had 2 fats. So one was butter, the other was oil. We had 2 sugars. We had brown sugar and white sugar. We added vanilla. What am I missing? Oh, what was that leavener I said? What could it be? It was baking soda, guys. Baking soda is the other one. All right, so we are halfway through our cookies. We still have a lot more to do. So our next ingredient is a little bit silly. It's this one right here. Can anybody see that? What do we think that could be? It's something that you'll find on the table with pepper. They hang out together. It's salt. So we are adding salt into our batter because it actually is gonna bring out the flavors of our other ingredients. So it's gonna make it even sweeter. So I'm gonna take a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and we're gonna make it nice and heaping on top, make our finger super duper straight and go right over the top, just like that. So 1/4 teaspoon, sprinkle, sprinkle. Put that to the side there. And then we're gonna start mixing it in. All right. So we only have one final ingredient before we start working on our mix-ins, guys. Does anybody know what our cookie batter could be missing? What do we always have to add to cookies and cakes to make it all hold together? So it's not this big liquidy mess, because this is not gonna make a cookie. Does anybody have any ideas? Any ideas? Let's see if I can give you a hint. It's light and fluffy. Looks like this. No? Anybody? Not so much? It's flour, guys. It is flour. So I have 2 different kinds of flour here, like I was telling you guys about. We have our all-purpose flour and our whole wheat flour. Our whole wheat flour is the full grain. It's going to be a little healthier for us. But if you use all whole wheat flour is really getting me saying that word. Whole wheat flour, our cookies are going to be a little dense. So we're going to use 1/2 and 1/2. So for my flour, I need 3/4 of a cup of each. And like I was saying, I'm using my 1/4 cups today. So if I need 3/4 of a cup, I need 3 of these. So how many tablespoons do we think that is? If you were listening earlier, 1/4 of a cup is gonna be 4 tablespoons. So if we have 4 tablespoons times 3, it's a lot of tablespoons. So that's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 tablespoons of each kind of flour. So I am gonna take our first scoop of our whole wheat flour, again with the karate chop, and go right over the top. So that is 1, and then we need 3 of these, remember. So 2, right over the top, make sure you're not digging in, make it nice and flat, and then 3. So at this point, I like to mix up my batter just a little bit, because if we put all of our flour in and go to mix, all our flour can fly out. So I'm just gonna give it a quick mix, get some of that flour incorporated in our batter, and then we'll move on to our all-purpose flour. Like I mentioned earlier, you can also use all of either types of flour if you'd like, depending on what you have at home. So if you wanna use all-purpose, you're gonna have a really light, fluffy cookie. You can use all whole wheat, it'll be a little healthier, but a little bit more dense, but both are gonna be delicious. So I've got all of my flour mixed in there of the whole wheat. And now we're gonna move on to the all-purpose. I'm gonna shake that out. I'm gonna move this out of our way. Get my little floor pile going on here. And then we're gonna move on to the all-purpose. So we got that heaping scoop. We're gonna make our whole hand flat like a karate chop and go hi-ya, right over the top. So that's 1. We need 2 more. Hi-ya. 2. We all keeping up over there? And here's 3. So really dig it in there, get that really high heaping scoop, and yeah, 3 scoops, okay? Now we need to mix it all in, so nice and slow. You can even go to the bottom to the top, kind of like folding it in, to make sure you don't throw flour all over yourself. So we're mixing, you can see it's still very floury in there. So I need to keep on going. Okay, so this is gonna be a bit of a stickier dough at first, but once we add in our mix-ins, it'll start to come together and you can touch it a little bit more. So you don't wanna beat your flour in, because anytime you're using flour, you don't wanna overwork the gluten and have tough cookies. So we're just gonna mix it together until all the flour disappears. Ooh. Oh, that is some very wet dough. I'll show you guys in 1 second. All right, I think I've got it all mixed in. So you guys can see it's pretty sticky inside there. If I was to pick it up with my hands, it's gonna be on my hands. So I'm gonna push it all off there. And then we've got a cookie dough batter. If you'd like, you can always put it in the fridge for a minute too to harden it up a little bit. But once we add in some of our mix-ins, it'll definitely be easier to roll. Okay, so now we can talk about mix-ins. Like I was saying, we've got our star ingredient here, the chocolate chip. It's my favorite inside of a cookie. And then we've got our seeds. We've got our dried fruit you can use. And then we've got our oats and coconut. So we've got so many different options here. What are you guys using at home? Are you guys gonna make 2 Chinese cookies or just 1? What do we think? So like I was talking about, I wanna make 2 different kinds of cookies. Let's mix it up a little bit here. So I'm gonna take all my batter, I'm gonna put it into a pile like this, and I'm gonna use my spatula to kind of break it up into 2. Break it up in there. Okay, and then I can take 1 giant scoop and add that over here. Let's even it up a little bit more. Okay, perfect. So now I've got my 2 different bowls. And let's see. So my favorite cookie is called Everything But the Kitchen Sink. And that means it's got everything in it. So for that cookie, I'm gonna use every single ingredient here. But for my other cookie, I don't know what I should do. What do you think, Elena? What's your favorite kind of cookie? Ideally, it's some of the toppings that are here.
Dark chocolate coconut oat.
Ooh, dark chocolate coconut oat. I like the sound of that, so we'll do that one too. So, for our cookies, for our mix-ins, we want to use 3/4 of a cup of mix-ins for all of our cookies. So if I split that in half, that would mean we've got 3/4 cups. So we've got 4 tablespoons on one side, 4 tablespoons on the other side, and that leaves 4 tablespoons left. So that means that we're gonna have 6 tablespoons in each of our 2 batters, okay? So for Elena's cookies, we are doing oats, coconut, white chocolate chips? Dark chocolate chips, great. So that's gonna be 2 tablespoons of each since we have 3 ingredients. So let me see if I can find our tablespoon. So we are gonna do 2 tablespoons of our coconut. I can get it into this tiny, tiny little scoop I've got here. Now 1 tablespoon of coconut and 2 tablespoons. Then we've got our oats. We're gonna do 2 tablespoons of that. 1 and then 2. And then our dark chocolate. So I've got our semi-sweet, our white chocolate, and then our dark chocolate here. The semi-sweet and the white chocolate are in chips, but my dark chocolate I've got in a chunk. So for that, we are gonna chop it up a little bit. So I've got my chopper here. We've got the long side and the short side. Remember, when you're holding your chopper, you want the long side away from you. We're gonna curl in all our fingers to make a bear claw, and then you're just gonna look on the other side of your chopper, make sure there's a nice small piece on the other side, and start shaving down our dark chocolate. Just like that. I like to have the shaved dark chocolate in here too, because it kind of spreads out in the cookie, and it kind of makes it more of like a chocolate cookie too. It really moves that chocolate around. This is very crumbly, so I'm just gonna keep wiggling down to get through there. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Any comments of what kind of cookies you guys are making at home? What do we think? Do we come up with any crazy combinations? So hard to chop through this dark chocolate. One of the other fun things is we can also try all these things. See what they taste like separate. You can combine, like maybe take a seed and a cranberry and put it in your mouth at the same time. See what it would taste like together. I, as I've mentioned, love chocolate, so I think any of these will taste good with a combination of chocolate. Okay, so I've got that all chopped up there. Chop for those fingers. I'm gonna push all that off. So chocolatey.
Someone's doing oats and chocolate chips.
Oats and chocolate chips, yum, love it. All right, and I'm gonna do our 2 tablespoons of our dark chocolate. Elena's stealing all the dark chocolate for her cookies. I wanted dark chocolate in mine. Luckily, we have a little left, don't worry guys. All right, so I took half the cookie batter, and then I put 6 tablespoons of our mix-ins here. And then I'm gonna take my spatula, and I'm gonna start kind of smashing it into there. You can definitely always add more of the mix-ins than suggested. You know, you'll have a little bit more in your cookie, but you don't wanna go with too much, because if you add more mix-ins than you have batter, you're gonna end up with a pretty crumbly, falling apart cookie, and we want our cookies to hold together. So I'm gonna make sure I'm mixing that all the way around so that chocolate goes all the way through our cookies.
For the oats and chocolate chips, would they use a 1/4 cup of each?
No, we need, well, so if you were making one kind of all of yours, that's gonna be 3/4 of a cup of mix-ins. So that will end up being 6 tablespoons of each. So a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. If you were splitting your dough in half, then we are just gonna do 3 tablespoons of each. I can do simple math. Yes, 3 tablespoons of each, perfect. Okay, so as you can see, we've got all of our mix-ins there. And then I'm gonna go on to mine. So if you guys remember, I'm doing everything but the kitchen sink. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, oh, I wish I had 12. Well, I've got 9 different mix-ins. So I'm gonna do almost a tablespoon of everything. And then, yep, I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of all the chocolate. That's how I'm gonna do it. So I've got, wait, nope, no, I'm doing half the batter. Hold on guys, again with the math. I only need 6 tablespoons. Yeah, for all of it. Wow, I'm not gonna do quite that much. So let's start with, we're gonna do a half tablespoon of coconut in this one. We've got our pepita seeds. Does anybody know what pepita seeds are? Have you guys ever heard of those? It's these tiny little green seeds you can see right here. So pepita seeds are actually the inside kernel of pumpkin seeds. So whenever you break open a pumpkin and then you peel out the seed, this is the little seed on the inside. So I did a half tablespoon of that, so we're up to 1 tablespoon. I'm gonna do a full tablespoon of sunflower seeds because I really love sunflower seeds. While I'm going, sunflower seeds, super exciting. If you guys have ever seen those really big yellow flowers, right in the center of them is where all the sunflower seeds are at. It's that brown part right in the middle. And when they dry out, you can pull out all the little sunflower seeds. Does anybody have a guess about how many sunflower seeds are in 1 sunflower? I'm gonna get back to that. See if we've got any guesses. So now I'm up to 2 tablespoons of mix-ins for my half batter of dough right here. So then I'm gonna move on to our golden raisins. I'm gonna do a half tablespoon of our golden raisins. Put that in, and then a half tablespoon of our cranberries. Whoop, throwing cranberries. So now we're up to 3 tablespoons. And I've got 3 tablespoons left I can mix in. So I'm going all chocolate, guys. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of our dark chocolate. I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of our semi-sweet chocolate. A little bit more. And then 1 tablespoon of our white chocolate. Oop, might as well throw those in too. Okay, so I've got my 6 tablespoons in my half batch of cookie dough right here. Let me scrape off all that batter so we don't lose any over there. And then we're gonna start smashing over here. Smash it all in there. Did anybody have a guess of how many seeds are in 1 sunflower? Any guesses? It's a lot of seeds, guys. Guess high. We'll wait just a few more minutes, see if anybody comes up with anything. All right. So, our batter is gonna make 24 cookies. That's a whole bunch of cookies. What we wanna do is we wanna make sure that all of our cookies are the same size. So, since remember, this is only a half batch of cookies, I need to make 12 cookies out of this. So what I'm gonna do is I like to make it into a tube. I think it makes it a little easier to roll out. And since my dough is very, very wet, I'm just gonna take a tiny little sprinkle of flour. Tiny little sprinkle to help hold it all together. Okay, so I'm making a snake, and you can always use your fingers around the side to kind of squeeze it into the shape so it's all the same size all the way through. You can see I got that right there. And then I need to make this into 12 cookies, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my chopper and I'm gonna find the center. So I sometimes like to measure it with my fingers. So you can put your fingers on both sides and just kind of creep in. And you can see, I can do it twice. And then right in the center of there is right about here. I can draw a little line and then I'll take my chopper and chop right there. So now we have 2 giant cookies, but we need 12. So I need to make 6 out of each of these. I'm gonna pull that away. And let's see. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I've got 5. That didn't quite make it, did it? Wow. What we can do is we can just take a little bit off some of our cookies, or as long as you're making all the same amount of cookies, all the same size, then you can just do less. And we'll just have a slightly bigger cookie. So I'm gonna do 5 on each. So this batch is gonna be 10 cookies. So you can see right there, got a nice round ball. I'm gonna put that one there. And then we're just gonna keep on rolling. Remember when you're rolling, I like to describe it like if you're petting a puppy. You don't want to push down too hard, just want to be nice and gentle. So we're just going to roll right in our hands. So we've got 2, and then 3, 4, and 5. All right, so we've got our first 5 cookies. They look all about the same size. This one looks a little bigger. So what I can do is I can just take a little pinch off and add it to the smaller one. And now they're all even. Did anybody ever guess on how many seeds they think are in a sunflower seed or sunflower?
Someone guessed 25.
25, that's a really good guess, but it's even higher than that, even higher. Any other guesses? What do you think, Miss Elena? 2, 3,
500.
5. Huh?
500.
500 is Miss Elena's guess. Guess what, guys? It's even higher. Even higher. What? Madness. All right, guys, I'm going to reveal it. Typically, a sunflower has over 1,000 sunflower seeds in it. What? Another fun fact is the tallest sunflower in the world is 30 feet tall. That's madness. That is really, really tall, guys. All right. And clearly, most sunflowers are not 30 feet tall, guys. So don't go searching for a 30-foot tall sunflower. They'll be more like 12 feet, which is more than double of the size of me. So that's a pretty tall flower. So I'm rolling again. So now, remember, I'm making slightly larger cookies. I've made half of my batter and I made them into 10 different cookies. So I'm gonna go get our sheet pan. And I'm gonna start putting our cookies on here. So what's really important, guys, is our cookies spread out. So we do not wanna pack them all right next to each other. So I'm gonna start with 3 cookies in a row, just like that. And then what I like to do, because I like really flat cookies, I'm gonna pat them down just a little bit, just a tiny bit. So I like my cookies to be really crunchy. If you leave them to a ball, they're gonna be a little bit more chewy, but it just depends on what you're looking for. So I'm doing about 2 inches between each cookie. I'm gonna pat, 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 just like that. Okay, and it's just like Play-Doh, guys. So if you're not getting the perfect looking cookie that you want, you can just go around the edges, kind of just push it in. Okay, look at that, guys. You know what, I think that since I have twice the amount of cookies left, I'm gonna need another sheet pan. Hint, 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 Miss Elena. Oh, I'm gonna need another sheet pan. All right, so I've got my 10 cookies right there, guys. So you can see they're all nicely spread apart. So you don't need to worry about them growing and smashing together into one giant cookie. I'm gonna put that to the side. And we're gonna work on our second batch. So remember, this is half of the whole cookie recipe. So, again, since we're gonna bake these all at the same time, I'm just gonna make these into another 10 cookies. And that way, we can put them all in the oven at the same time, and they'll all come out of the oven at the same time. We don't have to worry about any of them getting undercooked or any of them burning on there. That's why we always want them to be the exact same size.
Can they use foil instead of parchment?
You can definitely use foil instead of parchment. Yeah, typically we use the parchment just so it keeps the pan clean. It makes it a lot easier to get it off the sheet pan. But you can also just put it right onto your sheet pan. Okay, so I've got my cookie snake again.
She said her daughter's loving it, and she's doing chocolate chips and M&Ms.
Ooh, chocolate chips and M&Ms, that sounds delicious. Oh, I didn't even mention too, you can also use nuts. Nuts are a definite another thing you can use. We don't use nuts here because of all the allergies, but you can use them. Miss Elena also mentioned you can use pretzels. The mini pretzels are super cute. If you get the mini ones and just push a mini pretzel around the top, it looks really good. So once again, I've got my long cookie snake here. I'm gonna take my fingers and start measuring. So I'm gonna start right at the end and then come in a little bit more. Whoop, and then I can find that center right from there. So I got the center I'm gonna make a little line so I remember, and then chop right through the middle. And I'm gonna take this very soft cookie log, put it over there, and then remember we're making 10 cookies. So I need to make this into 5 different pieces. So let's see if I can do it. 1, go a little bit over, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice, I did it, but not quite the same size though, huh? Not quite. Nice try, Miss Anastasia. All right, so I'm gonna take some off of this one, because that one is huge. And we can just add a little bit to each one. You're just using your eyes to see what you think. They look around the same size. I always like to put them both in my hands and kind of feel the weight.
Somebody just joined and asked what we're making.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to the cooking class. We are making build your own cookies. And anybody who missed a little bit of it, don't worry. We'll be saving this after and putting it, sharing it on Facebook, and then also putting it on our website if you guys want to chime back in later to rewatch it.
Bill is using milk chocolate chips, oats, and sprinkles.
Ooh, Bill, milk chocolate chips, oats, and sprinkles sounds delicious. I don't know if I've ever had sprinkles in my build your own cookies. That's a really good idea. I like it. It's gonna be a very pretty cookie. All right. So once again, I've got my 5 cookies over here, and then I need to work on my log, my second log. Oh, bring the log over nice and gentle. And then let's see if I can do a better job breaking this up into 5 cookies. Let's see. So if I did 1 here, a 2, 3, 4, 5. It's that ending that gets me every time. Not the same size, guys. No? So what do? We just take a little bit off of this one, and we can break it up and put it into the rest of our cookies. Luckily, I made the softest cookies ever today, so it just mushes right in. So we're rolling again. Remember, like we're playing with a puppy. Nice and soft. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Rolling, rolling, rolling. I cannot believe we're gonna have 20 cookies after this. That is so many cookies. I'm definitely gonna need to, maybe walk around my house a little bit today, work those cookies off. All right, so I'm rolling. All right, and I have my 10 cookies. Let's double check that. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay. So let's spread those out again, guys, on our sheet pan. Make sure there's room between each one. So I like to do rows of 3. So I've got 3 there, and just make sure there's just enough room in between each row. And the same amount over here. So 1, 2, 3. 1. My measurements are all off today. Look at all this sheet pan I have left, guys. Let's spread it out. Let's move it over a little bit. Got plenty of space. What am I crowding everything for? Okay, and my 1 weird cookie over here. So, we've got our other set of 10 cookies here. And like I said, I like mine nice and crunchy, so I'm gonna pat mine down just a little bit. And then, remember I was talking about earlier that our cookie dough is kind of like Play-Doh. It does spread a lot, but, why don't we try to make it into shapes anyway? So I'm gonna take one of my cookies, and my favorite shape to make is always a heart. So what we want to do is we're going to poke our finger right in the top and kind of make 2 lumps at the top, and then you just need to make it nice and pointy at the bottom. And then, boop, we got a little heart, just like that. So we're going to put those in the oven and see if our cookie keeps that shape or if it ends up being just a big blob, which is also possible. So I've got a heart there. I'm going to keep hearting. I'm going to keep on going, guys. How's everybody's cookies turning out there? Anybody else doing any shapes? Any fun ideas we could do? A star would be pretty complicated. I made a star pizza the other day, and it's not the easiest shape to work with. Ooh, these are gonna be delicious. I am so excited, guys. I have not had breakfast this morning. I know Elena said it's not morning anymore, but turns out I'm gonna have some cookies for breakfast. What a rebel.
You still have like 10 minutes of morning left.
10 minutes of morning left. Well, I better get these cookies in the oven so I can have cookies for breakfast. All right, guys. So we've got our oven at 350 degrees, and we had that preheating during our whole cooking class. And the glorious thing about these cookies is we will have cookies in 8 minutes because they only take 8 minutes in the oven. What you want to look for is that it looks all the way done on the top, so it doesn't look shiny and raw anymore. And then it'll slightly, very, very slightly brown around the edges. But you don't want a very brown cookie because then it's going to be a little bit overdone. You still want it to be crunchy on the outside and then nice and soft and delicious on the inside. Almost there, guys. I am going to have a whole bunch of hearts. So yeah, like I said, we can do our regular cookies we did over there that we just did in nice little circles, or you can make them into fun shapes. We'll see how it turns out.
Amy's making square cookies.
Ooh, square cookies. That's a fun idea. I kind of want to make a square cookie. I like that idea. Is that Amy? Mm-hmm. Nice, Amy.
Jonathan says the batter's so good he's licking the
Ooh,
spatula.
Jonathan, don't lick it. It's got that raw egg in it. I'm sure a little bit will be fine, but we definitely want to keep safe and make sure we have nice, strong bellies and don't eat all that raw egg in there. Another fun thing you can always do is you can use an egg replacer instead, and then you can eat all your batter. You can also take flaxseed. If you take about a tablespoon of flaxseed to 3 tablespoons of water, it generally makes about the amount of an egg, and then guess what, guys, it's a free-for-all and you can eat all of the batter if you'd like. I'm not a big cookie dough person. I love cookies, but the cookie dough is not really my cup of tea. But hey, to each their own. I know it's very popular out there. All right, so here we go. I've got my 2 square cookies over here, and then I got a whole bunch of hearts. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven. We're gonna leave it for 8 minutes. We're gonna go and check on it, make sure it's nicely browned around the edges, and then we'll be ready for cookies. Give me one moment. And with just the proper amount of cooking magic, guys, I've got my cookies, and look, the heart shape stayed. So cute. So we've got all of our delicious cookies here, as you can see. We've got a little bit of brown color right on the side. So imagine these were in the oven for 8 minutes. Obviously, you guys have a little bit more time until you get to enjoy your cookies, but it is about time for me. So let me find the perfect cookie. I think I'm gonna go for this one. Looks like it's got just about everything in there. Let's give it a try. That's delicious. That's one good breakfast of cookies. Love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for cooking with me today. I definitely do share pictures because we always love to see pictures. And I hope everybody enjoys their cookies. I will be cooking also on Friday for our pizza party. We're going to be making enchilada pizza. It's hard to swallow without cooking in my mouth. Hold on one second. We're going to be making enchilada pizza. You can always order our pizza kits online. Those are online until Thursday night at 6 p.m. And then we're doing pickup at our Wicker Park location from 12 to 2 on Friday. Thank you guys again for cooking with me, and I hope you enjoy everything.